Okay, now it's time for our news and views across Asia and about Asia. And the first one, which I found very happy news, is from the Philippine News Agency. The headline, China promises to always stand by the Philippine side in times of challenge. And it immediately reminded me of the music and the song, Stand By Me. And so we have some images here as I read the news item, and maybe we can roll some of the images and the music stand. China assured its full support to the Philippines in times of difficulties and challenges. The top officials of the two countries held talks on Thursday on many areas of cooperation that would further bolster the renewed China-Philippines relations under President Rodrigo Duterte's leadership. Quote, I want to tell the people of the Philippines that whenever difficulties and challenges arise, China will always stand by your side. So it's so, heartwarming for me to hear this. And let me tell you, this is the 600th anniversary of the visit of the Sultan of Sulu to China. So when the Chinese say for all times, it is for all times. In the time of President Marcos, when the MNLF rebellion erupted, and the military armed forces of the Philippines was running out of ammunition, the United States refused to supply. It was China that helped President Marcos quell the rebellion with supplies of arms and ammunition. So this is true for all times, really. And there's the handshake, a very significant handshake of Ambassador Zhao with President Duterte when President Duterte visited China, and beside Foreign Minister Wang Yi. So I continue with this report. The Chinese government donated 15 million pesos for the people affected by the conflict between the government forces and Islamist militants in Marawi City. And I had the chance to ask Ambassador Zhao in the recent Hong Kong anniversary reception held by the Manila Embassy of PROC. And Ambassador Zhao stressed that this is just the beginning. Of course, following that donation, the Chinese government sent over 500 million pesos of rifles, weapons, sniper scopes, 6 million rounds of ammunition to assist the Philippine government in the anti-terrorism campaign. And this follows a year of deals and signed contracts, commitments of assistance, such as already the signed funding grant in aid for 2 bridges across Makati to Mandaluyong and across Intramuros to Binondo. So that is our first news item, and we are very happy that we as brothers in Asia support each other. And later on we'll have more. Now this item about Korea, the Korean Peninsula. I chose this item because it shows the ironic twist in the United States in their attitude to the South Korean president. This is the headline. This is from the Washington Post. Awkward talks ahead as Trump seeks pressure on North Korea from South's dovish president. You see, an American major newspaper describing the South Korean president as dovish, meaning too peaceful or peace-loving. And let me read some lines. Mr. Moon was given a strong mandate in May by South Korean voters who saw the THAAD, the Terminal High Altitude Aerial Defense Anti-Missile System, as an unwanted escalation with the North. You see the significance of this news item. It is the South Korean that voted a peace-loving president into office, and this is not exactly welcomed by the United States of America. Analysts say Mr. Moon, President Moon, will temper his views in front of Mr. Trump. In Seoul, he repeatedly stressed that he and Mr. Trump shared the same goals in dealing with security issues on the Korean Peninsula. So the South Korean president has to appease the hawkish attitude of the American president. So this is ironic because this is our region, this is our neighborhood. The United States is an interloper here. Yet they have such gall to put pressure on an elected Asian president. Anyway, let's move on. So the world is changing, and as we have seen, there is a shift to Asia in terms of economic prosperity and geopolitical weight. And the next news item confirms the continuing and prospering alliance or partnership between Russia and China. The headline goes, Putin to host Chinese President Xi next week. This is datelined June 28. Xi will visit Russia and Germany from July 3 to 6, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lu Kang said. And this is at the invitations of Russian President Vladimir Putin and German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier and Chancellor Angela Merkel. The two leaders, Putin and Xi, will exchange views on deepening the relations of comprehensive strategic partnership and cooperation and strengthening political trust between the two countries. They will also raise some pressing bilateral and international issues of mutual interest. And of course, in relation to the Philippines, Liza and Austin, our Philippine President Duterte has established renewed friendship and economic relations with both China and Russia. So these are very positive developments. And finally, again, coming from the very, very sad and tragic experience of the Philippines with the Marawi invasion by various forces, including the so-called ISIS in Mindanao. This is good news for us and the entire world being terrorized by terrorism. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard confirms Daesh chief Baghdadi is dead. The elite Iranian Revolutionary Guard verified the death of Daesh mastermind Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, quote, through multiple channels, unquote, a representative said on Thursday. I chose this report because the Iranians are very close to the ground in the Middle East and they know what is going on, and they have engaged the ISIS in Syria. So I think this is good news for the Philippines too, hoping that the nascent ISIS force in Mindanao will now be orphaned and will soon wither away, I hope. Anyway, you're not political in any way. I do not expect you to have very detailed reactions here. But these are probably also the first time you hear such interpretation of news.
Yes.
So what is your impression hearing this from us?
The rest of the world.
This is the rest of the world. No, but to be honest, because of, again, I'll connect it to my trip. I normally hear about China and the Philippines, always they're fighting. And everyone says, oh, don't go to China, they don't like Filipinos, because it's the normal reaction. But when I went to China, I saw how developed they were. I think that's the proper word, developed. And as a Filipino citizen, I would want to learn more from them than fight them. So I want to partner with them. And any help that we can get, we would really appreciate. So I've seen how they work with their infrastructure, their tourism sites, and I always say that we have to get more allies with us. So for me, this new development, more investments are coming in from China, and I really appreciate that coming from the perspective of an entrepreneur.
My curiosity is this, of course you have mentioned the media.
Yes.
But what can you say about our media now? Realizing the contrast between the fears it created, the misunderstanding it created, the, let's say, bad blood that it created, and your actual experience now.
Maybe because, again, what we're being shown on media is just a small, very small perspective of what's really going on. Like, when they say mainland China, they really focus on the big cities. But there's more to China than just the politics. And also, when I went to mainland China, a lot of them were asking, how's the Philippines? How's Manila? Because they thought that we were also in martial law. So I keep telling them that, no, the place where martial law is declared is quite far from Manila. So it's safe for you to visit us, me and Austin, and also the other Filipinos. Yes.
We got two of our friends to visit already the following
They're
week.
here now?
They already left.
They already
Short
left.
trip.
Ah.
Yes.
So they were saying that, oh, Liza, it's good that you arrived because of martial law. And I'm like, oh, well, we're not really affected. So maybe it's also the way that it's being projected. So
And that is why this cultural exchange is
Yes.
so vital. It overcomes the misunderstanding
Yes.
created by mainstream media, to be particular, mainstream media. And it really brings up the question why the mainstream media is doing this. No, I don't know if it has occurred
maybe
to you.
it's for, I'm not sure, because of headlines. Probably the
That,
more
of course,
intriguing.
sensationalism, yes.
Headline sales.
Yes, but then that's why I saw the need to have similar programs as this one wherein there's a cultural exchange. A lot of our friends from the Dragon Foundation, they haven't been to the Philippines.
What will you do in your line of work teaching in De La Salle to expand this understanding of yours now?
Probably to share to my students that there's really more to the world than what we see on Facebook and on the traditional media. You really have to travel and you have to open your eyes that there's more to news. Because this is just a headline, but behind that, there are so many interesting stories that are waiting to be featured.
Yeah.
So I was telling Austin, I like posting on social media that my views of China has changed because a lot of people were surprised.
So I'm hoping you will post this to your friends, our discussion here. And that's the purpose of this show.
Okay.
I think we are pioneering in this, Austin, in presenting the real and total picture of Philippine-China relations, cultural and otherwise, over the centuries, not just over the past 5 years when this little iota of controversy over the China Sea, which represents really just a dot in the whole panoramic mural of Philippine-China relations.
If I may add, no one from our group even knows about the conflict. No one brought it up. So I was really, because I was expecting that
there will be some controversial
there is some
discussions.
controversy. Even our senior officers from the foundation, they were like, oh, you're from the Philippines, welcome.
Comment
Austin.
actually, Liza's being very modest today. During the whole trip, the Filipinos were natural leaders, natural,
Performers.
Our friends actually naturally gravitate. This is something that we.
So the other nationalities gravitate around the Filipinos.
Yes. Something that, because our group, of course, advocate friendship and peace. Something that we can promote, that we are actually the bridge of West and East.
And actually, if you look at the Philippine
we are
in
the center.
The global map,
we are
the
center.
gateway.
We are the gateway.
And we can determine whether we let in warriors or peacemakers.
Exactly.
And that is what President Duterte, I think, is doing, is making the Russians, Chinese, Japanese, American warships come together here.
Everyone are, today.
And if they're all here, no one can bomb us. Okay.
With today's complex challenges, we need to have creative solutions, innovative frameworks. Old ways of thinking can no longer manage.
I want to
global
invite
problems.
Liza again here with some of his students. After she discusses these things with her, and let's see. And then of course maybe get more participants to these activities.
And also, sir, I have a travel agency based in Las Piñas, and normally I haven't booked any trips to China for my clients because personally I was also scared. Okay, but because again of this trip, I am trying to engage more tour operators to probably venture into Manila, or for my clients to try and visit China.
And now with your positive view, you'll make money from this relationship. Okay.
Helping the economy is one of my objectives.
Okay, so let's take this break and we move on to the great event, the great anniversary of the Hong Kong turnover or handover back to China.